What do you know about the Indigenous communities in Canada?
Not that much. I know nothing.
I have no clue.
Yeah?
I have no clue.
Not a lot.
They lived in Canada.
I know that they live on reserves.
I don't know that much, but I remember learning about it at schools, but I don't really remember about it.
Well, on residential schools, over 150,000 Indigenous people were took out of their homes and sent to these residential schools. These schools had the same conditions as they do now on the reserves. And in the 1940s to 50s, the schools experimented on malnourished children and starved them in order to get the results they wanted. They were given permission by the federal government to do so. What do you think?
That's crazy.
It was definitely a bad part of our Canadian history, both for the government and for the churches that were involved in running them.
On poverty, reserves up north in Canada will have food that is flown in from other countries, but the quality is the worst of the worst. Like, it comes moldy, rotten, and expired. And citizens are forced to pay over 4 times what non-Aboriginal citizens have to pay. What do you think?
That's just, it's actually so terrible. What the heck? I didn't even know that was a thing.
That's actually crazy that the government will do that to them when they're the original owners of the land.
On average, a citizen in the population of a reserve can earn to about $14,000 of income every year, which is 104th, like that's 104th place in the world, worse than Sudan and Saudi Arabia, countries like that, yeah, right here in Canada. So with the food costing like $30 for a frozen pizza, $15 for eggs. They can't afford much, so this really helps to the malnutrition that they suffer from. What do you think?
Like I said, it's terrible. It's crazy how the government's doing that to them. It makes it seem like they don't want them to succeed.
The Canadian government apologizes to the First Nations people, and then they say they're sorry, but they're still doing stuff like this and treating them terribly.
The housing conditions can almost resemble those of a third world country. First Nation people living on reserve have the lowest labor force participation rate, meaning that a lot of them are unemployed.
I find that it is kind of unfair for certain people to be discriminated when they are applying for jobs and all, and that everyone should really have an equal shot at obtaining a job in the future.
Houses don't have enough space and become overcrowded. This overcrowding leads to poor health and social issues and causes the buildings to deteriorate faster. What do you think?
That is crazy because you don't think about it that much, and then you realize now it's a crazy thing.
Like, honestly, it leaves me speechless because it's like, are we actually still doing it? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy.
It's even worse because we apologized, supposedly, made a whole big announcement about it. Oh, sorry for treating you the way we treated you.
And yet
we're still isolating them from society itself, putting them in reserves in the middle of nowhere. Like, for what purpose?
The mental and physical health. As a result of malnutrition, lack of clean water, and poor shelter, the mortality rate of those living on reserves is 5 to 7 years smaller than adults. What do you think?
Crazy.
That's so
I never
crazy.
knew that.
We're still in, like, what, the 20th century, and people are still living like that, and it's like, it's just crazy that we have so much money and yet none of it is being put towards actually helping people.
And it's even worse because we live in a first world country and we're expected, to be up there and taking care of our people, but we treat them like that.
Suicide rates of Fnmi youth are 5 to 7 times higher than any other youth in non-Aboriginal communities in Canada, and one of the highest suicide rates in the world, as well as twice than the national average.
That is so sad, and I believe that we need to spread awareness on this topic. It is really important to know and talk about because we are so blind to these problems.
It's just not fair. You can see you totally see the inequality, and it's just not fair that they have to be segregated from everyone and live such a terrible life. It's just nothing they ever wanted. They wanted to live peacefully and with everyone.